It's Paul Marsh, and I am delighted to say that I've been joined by comedian Robin Morgan. Robin, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
How have you got the time? Because you're in the middle of your UK tour right at the moment, and then also you're coming to Portsmouth Guildhall on Sunday, the 27th of October. So, how have you got time to do everything?
I honestly don't know. I'm very, very sleepy, is my answer. I'm very tired, but I'm a hard worker and blessed to be booked. So, you just power through, right?
Well, I love it because I've spoken to a few comedians over the years, and I love talking to comedians that have got families and other halves at home because I just think it's almost like well, I'm just going to go out and tour for 6 months, darling. Enjoy, have fun with the kids, and I'll see you
Sure.
later.
Well, yeah, I feel like I always drive home after each gig. I
Oh,
feel like I
really?
should fly the good father, good husband card.
Wow.
So I'll always come home, and so I think that's good. But also I think that's good for me mentally, so I'm not just like just on my own a lot. I
Yeah.
think it's quite nice, and also I think it shows that like life's more than about work and comedy, right? Like it's about getting up and coaching my son's football team at 8 in the morning in the pouring down rain. It's about that kind of stuff, isn't it?
The things that we really look forward to.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. It's great fun.
Do you know what? I agree with you. And funny enough, again, I know that we're both busy. We both do all these bits and pieces. When you get a chance to do that, so I'll tell you a little story. So I don't know, you've got young children. Do they know the movie Sing?
Yeah, they love the movie Sing.
So just recently dropped on Netflix was obviously Halloween's coming up. It was Sing Thriller. They've just released that on
Okay,
Netflix.
nice.
They've taken Michael Jackson's Thriller and they've turned it into a little Sing short. And we sat and watched it on the sofa and we cuddled. And I was working upstairs and I came down literally for like 10, 15 minutes or whatever it was. And we sat and cuddled and watched that. And like exactly what you say, it's those little moments, isn't it?
100%. I mean, this is like my son, my eldest is 7 or 7.5, as he'll quite rightly correct me. And I've only got a few more years until he'll want to hang out with his mates in the evenings and play Fortnite or whatever the new equivalent of that is. So what a privilege that he wants to hang out with me now, right? So I think, t taking these times, I think is probably quite crucial.
Well, I'm literally there. So my son is just about to turn 7 and my
Sure.
daughter is 11. So
Yeah.
she is now at that age where, oh, dad, you're
Sure.
not cool and all of that kind of stuff. And my son still loves me to do, come and play with me, dad, come and play with me and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, you are 100% in the right spot.
Okay, good. I mean, I'm also quite looking forward to when they are teenagers and they think I'm uncool because I feel like I'm really going to lean into that. I think I really want to be an embarrassing dad. I feel like that I'm perfect. I'll be perfect for that.
Yeah, it's great. When you get that moment and you just go that, you turn the notch up on embarrassment just ever
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
slightly.
yeah. That's it. I
Um,
think I can do my element.
I've never had to do this in an interview before, but I feel I'm going to do it with you now.
Put your trousers on, Robin, that kind of thing.
Almost. You're, you're straight, aren't you?
I am straight. Thank you for noticing.
I've never ever in an interview ever commented on somebody's sexuality ever, but I love the fact that you do it. So I think it's so funny, and I love why you do it, and I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's sexuality is a spectrum, right? But I think I've throughout all my sort of teens and everything, people always I think assumed I was queer to some point, and I don't know why that is, like slightly effeminate, dress well, charming, kind, any of those things. Or maybe just the things I've just said. But yeah, no, I think it's when I started out doing comedy, it's something I felt like I realized I kind of had to address it because then when I was talking about my then girlfriend, now wife, people would kind of double take and then go, "Oh, hang on, but that's not what we thought." So I used to write a joke about, I used to have a joke about, coming out as straight, essentially. And now I thought by now I wouldn't have to do it, but it turns out I still do. But it's fine and I enjoy it. It's yeah, it gets a laugh, which is very much my job, so it's
I
fine.
mean, the funny thing is, and as you will discover, is obviously there are a certain amount of your fans that have been with you for a number of years now, and they know your life and all the bits and pieces. But you're always gaining new fans, aren't you? So
Hmm.
it's much like this interview. It's much like, you. This is the first time we've spoken, but we may do another interview in a year or two or whatever it is, and it's almost like a catch up. Whereas at the moment, you're almost starting from scratch, and with that new audience, you have to start from scratch with them.
I suppose so, yeah. I think it's I mean weirdly the start of this show that I'm touring is kind of I've got a thing about bit previously on Robin Morgan and I kind of just wing through everything they need to know very, very
I
quickly,
love that.
including the fact that I have a wife. So It's yeah, it's I think you're bang on, but then I think the people who've been with me for a few years, they'll quite enjoy the fact that they're part of this kind of this gang. Like, oh, we knew that already,
Yeah, in on the gag. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I think it's it's a pleasure and a privilege to sort of like keep playing to like with each tour sort of getting bigger and bigger. So I mean, yeah, until I sort of have to wear a sign around my neck, let me continue to keep making that joke. That's fine.
Let's talk about your current tour. Tell us what it's called and what it's about.
So it's called The Spark, and basically it's a continuation of previous shows. So previous shows of mine have been about getting engaged, getting married, having kids, having a vasectomy, and it feels like people are slowly coming along to more and more and more of them, and kind of want to hear what I'm up to. So I've been married for 6 years, been with my wife overall for 15. So it's called The Spark. It's about how to keep the spark alive in a relationship, but really also I've had a bit of an interesting year. So it's how to keep the spark alive in yourself as well.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I mean, I think I'm a little bit further ahead than you. So, like I say, I've got 11-year-old daughter, 7-year-old son, been married 10 years next year, and been together for 12. So if you got any tips or hints or anything else like that,
I think, well, one thing that I think is quite important is making sure that you still text each other like you were when you were starting dating. I mean, the amount of texts me and my wife send each other, which is just, we need milk. And I feel like less of those kind of very normal family messages about like, what are you doing on this day, family calendar? Maybe some messages like you would have sent at the start, Keep it clean, obviously, but.
But so it's funny you should mention that. So I'm literally just going to read a message that my wife just sent me earlier. Hopefully this is okay. So she just sent me again, like you say, the boring messages that you
Yeah,
get,
yeah.
obviously doing the shopping or whatever. She said, "Would you eat a jalfrezi or a Rogan Josh?" I said, "I've only just had breakfast, but okay if you bring it to me."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. See, this is it. It's just, I think sometimes it just becomes admin, right? You become
Yeah,
like two people who have been put in charge of children, other humans.
yeah.
And I think sometimes it's good to sort of take that time to remember why you're together, right? And put that time in like you would have at the start. Pretend that you're courting your wife again, you know?
It's difficult to do that, isn't it? Like you say,
The time, yeah.
the everyday day, we're so busy, children off to school, us off to work, and all the other bits and pieces. It's really, really difficult to remember who you are and why you first got together.
Totally. I think it's just it's good to take stock of that kind of stuff and take stock of like where you are in yourself as well. I feel like sometimes when people get into relationships, they kind of lose track of who they are as a person outside of that relationship as well.
Yeah,
So I think sometimes
definitely.
it's good to, sort of to work on yourself. And I don't think that's a selfish thing. I think that's a self-care thing.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Well, hopefully we'll learn a little bit more throughout your show, which, like you say, is coming to Portsmouth very soon. But
Yeah.
you have had a very, very busy year. You've been doing all sorts of bits and pieces. You created and hosted a comedy panel show.
I did,
What
yeah.
was that like?
So it was really cool. It's on BBC Radio Wales. It's called What Just Happened. And I grew up watching things like Have I Got News for You and Mock the Week, and I was very lucky to be on Mock the Week before it got shelved a couple of years ago. But I love topical comedy and I love topical comedy panel shows. So yeah, when we had it was me and a man called Henry Widdicombe, who's a lovely comedian and a lovely producer, and we came up with this idea and we pitched it to BBC Radio Wales, and it's had a couple of series, and it won an award this year, and it's really nice. It feels it's based in Wales, and it feels like we haven't had something like that, which kind of like holds power to account in Wales, which is quite a fun thing to do. It's silly and it's smart, and it's exactly the kind of comedy I want to be doing.
This might be very daft question because obviously you've been on a lot of panel shows on TV. Is doing a panel show on the radio any different?
Um, I'd say there's fewer places to hide. I think your jokes have to be really, really precise and well written. I think that's the same with any radio comedy though. Like I've had radio sitcoms, and you can't get away with just a look to camera or a physical. Like, obviously you're losing the physicality. That area of comedy. But no, I think radio is an incredibly hard art form to kind of to get comedy right on. So yeah, in terms of panel shows and other comedy shows on radio, I think your jokes have to be even more perfect than they
Just,
would if they were on
just that
TV.
extra little bit of pressure.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
You've also supported some amazing people as well. I know you supported Sophie McCartney, who I've interviewed before, and again is
Yeah.
incredibly funny.
Yeah, she's no, she's brilliant. That was last year for me. I supported her, and her fans are just wonderful. I mean, you go out to these beautiful. I was in Portsmouth supporting her to like 1,000 people, and like it's 996 women and 4 men, and it's just so much fun, and it feels like you're just on a hen do. It's
Yeah.
great. It's her fans are lovely. She's so hardworking and funny and kind and supportive. And I've had people on my tour come along to see me, having seen me support her. So it feels like that's nice. Like in a world where you're constantly trying to sort of like sell yourself online, it feels at my core, I love performing live. Like I'll never stop performing live. And I think that element of live comedy where anything can happen, that somebody's come and seen me do a gig and then come to see my own tour off the back of a
Yeah.
live show, that's
Yeah.
perfect for me. That like there couldn't be a greater compliment.
When you tour with other comedians, do you sort of pick up stuff that they do, or do you very much try to not do that and try and be your own person? How does that work?
I think it depends on the person and the relationship I've got with them. So I didn't know Sophie before I started supporting her on tour, whereas Ellie Taylor, for example, I've supported her a bunch of times and we're friends already. So I kind of know what she wants in a support act. Certain support acts, they have, it hasn't been through me, but anecdotally from other comics, they might say, I'm talking about subject XYZ, so can you not talk about subject XYZ?
Right. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and so some people won't want, you to do crowd work or or swear or anything like that. So
Don't want you to do crowd work, really?
I think just because if someone, and it's the same during a club
Okay,
gig,
so if
if
you're speaking to somebody on the front row, for example, and you've used all the good material.
100%, if you found those moments, or if you've just, if your comedy has been 20 minutes of just crowd work, then when the main act comes out, the audience are in a completely different mind space and they're going to be thinking, oh, this is going to be banter back and forth, back and
Oh
forth.
yeah.
So they've
Yeah.
got to sit back and listen to like a well-written, beautiful story. It's just a psychology thing. It's one of the many things about comedy from a comedy nerd point of view. I absolutely love how it can shift all of that. But no, in terms of yeah, how I feel like when I'm supporting somebody, I feel like I'm a guest at their party, so I'll make sure I can do as much for them as possible. There's no ego here. I'm a guest, and sometimes also the audience won't know that you're going to be there. Sometimes the first time that you're announcing yourself on stage, and you're delaying them see the
Yeah.
person that they want to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I think you've just got to go up, do your thing, and then hopefully get some nice new fans off it.
I like that. So many, many moons ago, I was a DJ and I warmed up for some really, really big names as well.
Yeah.
And again, it's very different to playing your own headline set when you're doing the warm up because you think, right, well, I need to get this crowd going and I need to get them to a certain point, but I can't
Yeah.
take them too high and I can't play those big tracks already because I know that the main guy is going to want to do all of that. So you need to get them to that boiling point just underneath it, but not quite there.
Yeah, totally. I think sometimes it's not a thankless task, but I think certainly like because I used to do TV warm up quite a lot, and a similar kind of thing where you go out and make sure the audience are ready, but then you're pushed off the stage as soon as like Graham Norton's ready to introduce the guests, which of course is fair because it's the Graham Norton show, it's not the Robin Morgan show. So I think yeah, you've sometimes just got to. Luckily, I don't think I've ever, had much of an ego. So I think it's you do the job, you
Yeah.
you hopefully have a nice time, and then cash your money, which is the treat.
Well, I was going to ask you about that actually, because I wanted to know what that was like being the warm-up artist for the Graham Norton show. Because is it very much like you put yourself in a prime position to obviously work with Graham and the producers and some of the guests as well? Or is it literally like you're in your room, you come out, you do your bit, and then you go back to your room and you don't see anybody?
I think that show is a really lovely community, and barely anyone on the production team leaves that job. I think because it's such a nice show to work on, and it's a really cool show. Like
Yeah.
ostensibly to sort of like say, oh, I hung out with Tom Cruise today. That's cool. That's a cool thing to be able to say.
It seems to be
Um,
one of those shows that the celebrities enjoy being on.
Totally, 100%. And that's testament to the production crew and how well and Graham and how well they work that show. From a warm-up point of view, again, I just people can bring their own egos into it and try and think, oh, this is going to be my time to meet Will Smith and give him a screenplay or something. I've never, no, I'm very professional. And I will do the thing and then hang around until they need me, say thank you, goodbye. But it's a cool thing to do. And I've a few years ago, I realized Doing Graham Norton warm up impressed my friends. Doing Radio 4 impressed my grandmother. And then, writing, op-eds for certain journalistic pieces impressed my parents. I was like, okay, so I'm slowly making people proud of me across there. But it's interesting what makes people think it's like bits of it is cool, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to know that you will not be playing Will Smith in his life biography.
No, no, no. I'm a bad slapper. I can't slap anyone. I'm a pacifist.
So just to finish off, I've noticed that you are touring throughout the rest of the year, and then you've got one date in January and one date in February. Is it drying up? Or are you struggling, or?
No, no, the January one I think was a rearranged one because I had to rearrange it due to another thing. And the February one, luckily, is an extra date.
Yeah.
So my Cardiff date is which is a comedy club I used to work at behind the bar, which is really lovely. I've pretty much sold that out, which is
Oh,
the
wow.
biggest room of the tour. So we put an extra date on hometown show. So
Fantastic.
so I think there'll be a few little extra ones for the ones that have sold well. So yeah, and then it go. I'm going to try and film it and put it out, and then on to the next one. We keep going.
Well, Robin, I've absolutely loved talking to you. Thank you so much for talking to me. Again, once again, tickets are available. You're at the Lens Studio at the Portsmouth Guildhall on Sunday, the 27th of October. Tickets are only £16.20, an absolute bargain, if I do say so myself. So, Robin, once again, thank you so much for talking to me. I look forward to hopefully talking to you again at some point in the future.
Thanks so much.